I'm going to do this pretty quickly because it really is a very fascinating topic, and I really think it's extremely timely. Like if you're looking at world history and we're right in it right now, you can get a very good and clear understanding from the story of Purim, because really what's going on is what I would call a concept in history: what goes around comes around, what goes around comes around. And that's really the truth. So they say, right, the roots of current events always lie in the past. And we as Jews, we definitely see a cycle in history, in secular history and in Jewish history, and they're really tied together. So it's something that we have to really understand. The Chofetz Chaim said, if there is a flood in Mississippi, it's a message to the Jews. So if you had to look around at the world, remember we were talking about in the Parsha, like it says, Vayikra, Vayikra el Moshe, like Hashem calls out to Moshe. Definitely God is calling out to us today. And when we look around, like you sometimes, like, I don't know about you, but you feel a little bit lost. Like, what actually does Hashem want from us? Isn't that a good question? Isn't that a very reasonable question? So now you're going to find it out when you look again at the story of Purim and what's the mitzvah that we have when we look at Purim. Because if you look right now, if I, like, we stop for a second and I just turned any random news channel, what would we see?
Ukraine.
Like, be honest, tell me what you would see if right now I just put on any news channel.
Ukraine.
Unmute.
Or is mute?
I'm literally asking you the question. So what would you see?
Ukraine. Can you hear me?
I can't hear anybody. Is anybody like too bad?
She
Can
said
you hear
Ukraine.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me, Gail?
I can't hear anybody. Am I on mute?
You.
But that has nothing to do with it. It's your setting.
Now I'm not muted, right? Can you
Yes,
hear
you
me? I can't hear you. How come?
Right.
Wow.
I can't hear you at all. Such a shame. From Sandy Klish to me, your setting. Where's my setting that I can't, why can't I hear you? Where's the setting?
End the meeting
Oh my
and
gosh,
join
like I
again.
want to start again because I really want to hear from you.
Hold on.
I never had the problem before. It's so funny because Janet, it says you're not muted, but I can't hear you.
Wait.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to pause the recording a minute. Okay, we're just going to stop. We're just pausing the recording, right? So what is the problem? Does anybody know? I think beside the mute button, yeah. Okay, so let's see. Select a microphone, same as system. Select a microphone.
Maybe.
That's what I would press.
Or wait, no, go down.
What?
Wait.
Keep going down. Okay, I'm going to read it and you'll put your thumb up when I should stop, okay? Select a microphone, same as system, built-in microphone. Select a speaker, same as system, built-in output. Test speaker and microphone. Switch test speaker and microphone.
Maybe.
Okay.
I'd say.
No, try another speaker. Yes. No, built in. Can you guys try to speak now again?
Can you hear
It has
us?
nothing to do with us.
I think it's audio settings.
Yeah, Shan loves me.
Audio
All right, he
settings.
loves us all. We are not going to get frustrated. There's nothing to be frustrated about. I really wanted to hear from you. Auto settings.
Settings?
No, this is all about my microphone.
Yeah.
Janet, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we can chat answers. She's the best. Okay, so I'm going to go. Okay, we're going right back to recording, even though we can't 100% hear other people. But as long, I guess if we could hear me, that's Hashem's bracha for right now. Okay, so Sandy, what would you say you see if you, poor girl, you have to type this stuff in. Okay, you know what? I'll guess for everybody. Okay, you'd see a lot of destruction. That's what you would see. You would see a city that once stood just the same way that your city stood. And then within a few realities, hours, weeks, and days, the whole thing is falling apart. Like, and it always makes me wonder, there's such an irony to the world. You know how long it took to build the city of Ukraine, right? There's so much history there. They're just blowing the entire thing up. Like, it's just pathetic. It's so sad, right? And what is the purpose of all of this? What is the purpose of all of this? This is what we want to understand. Where's the motivation behind doing such an atrocity? So what we have to understand is that there's no coincidences in history. There's no coincidences in our lives. So there's no coincidence that all this is happening in Adar, right around the story of Purim. So there's got to be some kind of a connection here. So let's see if we can try to find out what it is, because Shlomo HaMelech tells us there's nothing new under the sun. All right, so let's see where we can get it. So first, let's take a understanding of where the celebration of Purim really begins. And it really begins Shabbos. When does it really begin on Shabbos? When you need to listen to Parshas Zachor, when you need to listen about the story of what Amalek did to the Jewish people when they came out of Israel, and that you need to remember, you need to not forget, and then you need to really eradicate Amalek. And how important is this mitzvah? Very. It's a mitzvah from the Torah itself, and it's chosen to be given on the Shabbos before Purim, because Haman, we know, is directly a descendant of Amalek. He's the grandson of Amalek. So it's not something that's like millions of miles away. Here was a story where you really saw Amalek in action, trying to come and destroy the entire Jewish people. And we need to know, what's the motivation behind all this? What's the motivation behind all this destruction, right? Comes to destroy the Jewish people, and Baruch Hashem, he himself gets destroyed. And we remember what he wanted to do, and we act accordingly to what he wanted to do. So let me really get that straight, because right now, thousands of years later, there is no Amalek for us to destroy. Amalek has been intermingled, like this nation called Amalek has assimilated into the general population, right? So when the Jewish people, the 10 tribes, were exiled, right? And Sancherib came to the land of Israel and he exiled those 10 tribes. He exiled many of the nations that were around Israel, one of which was Amalek. So Amalek's been all mixed up. So when the Torah tells you we cannot forget what they did, and we must remember what they did, and like we eradicated Haman on Purim, we have to eradicate Amalek today. There is no physical Amalek that we could really point to. There is no one with the Amalek DNA. There's nobody wearing "I'm an Amalekite" t-shirt, okay? So if you could answer me, I know you would, when I ask you, what is it that we are eradicating? What is it that we are eradicating? See if somebody can mouth it. I can read your mouth. I can read your lips. This is the saddest class that I have to give when I can't hear other people. Their philosophy, okay? That is what we are eradicating. So now let's understand what their philosophy is, because it's very similar to the philosophy of many of the nations today who are standing ready to destroy other nations. And the same reason that they want to destroy these other nations is the same reason that Amalek wants to destroy the Jewish people. It's a statement. So the question is, what is the statement that Amalek wants to make, right? Because just when you think about it, listening to Parshas Zachor is a mitzvah. It's not just a nice thing to do. And it's even a mitzvah that women should do. It's not something like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, we all ran to shul and they said, whoever ran to shul, you got lots and lots of merit for it. But it was just like reading this one little paragraph. But Hashem says, this is a mitzvah. This is a connector to you and the world around you, to you and yourself, and to you and Hashem. This is big stuff, because this philosophy of Amalek is staring us in the face right here, right now, in 2022. You're watching it, and you're wondering, what am I supposed to do? And why are they doing what they're doing? So now we're going to have an opportunity. Mirz Hashem, Hashem should bless us, and we should understand His Torah and understand what is happening right here and right now. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want us to kind of take a look at the first time Amalek comes on the scene. Okay, so that's a very important part to the whole story. All right. So forget about the questions. Okay, so it's going to go much faster, the class. Okay, so when does okay, good, I'm getting answers. Talia had written ideology, beautiful, when we left Mitzrayim. Okay, you guys are great. Okay, so when does Amalek come? He comes on the scene when we left Mitzrayim. True. Okay, so let's just think about this. Okay, the Jewish people left Egypt. Okay, anybody know what Egypt was? It's very interesting when you think about it, the greatest world power on earth. So funny because we're seeing so many world powers like fight it out right now. So the greatest world power on earth. So the Jewish people leave the place that no one was ever able to escape. Not one single slave ever escaped Egypt. And here 3 million people walk out. How and why? Only because of Hashem. Hashem goes out of his way to show 10 different kinds of plagues. Each one of those plagues, he's trying to prove something very serious. What's he proving? He's the creator of the world. He sustains the world, and he supervises every little ounce of the world. And that's what Hashem was trying to prove, right? And that what? He didn't create this world just for a joke, or for a little flingy wingy and then walked away. He has a real purpose for this world. And that purpose was going to be revealed through the Torah, through the 7 Noahide mitzvahs, and through the messengers of Hashem, who are going to be the teachers of the world. That's going to be the Jewish people, and that's going to be their responsibility. Okay, great. So the Jewish people, they come across the Red Sea. The whole world is like, oh my gosh, the Torah tells you, like, we didn't have internet then. So how could Hashem send the message across the world? All the oceans and all the rivers are splitting, and there's incredible awe all over. Whoever's alive at that point is like, oh, did you hear the miracles? Did you hear the miracle? The biggest, like the miracle alone of just getting out of Egypt was humongous. Then all of Egypt drowning in the sea, and the Jewish people getting through, and this and that. Like, you can imagine, the world is shaking in fear. And what does the little paragraph that we read say? And Amalek, Vayikra, it comes by happenstance. No big deal. The whole world is shaking in their pants, and it's no big deal to Amalek to come and attack the Jewish people. And that word, Vayikra, also has the word kar, which means to cool off. So it's like they said that they were as if they were the ones, like, there's a really hot bathtub. So somebody goes in first, right? And then everybody goes, well, if they could go in, it can't be that hot. And then they go in next. Okay. So that was the whole idea, to bring down this, incredible aura around the Jewish people and their God, and this God that's going to take care of all of us, this God who has his understanding and connection to the world, and he has got purpose and he's got meaning, and he's going to be the big boss. So they came along and they said, big boss, big schmoss, anything that happens in this world is nothing but a mikra, nothing but a coincidence. No such thing as supervision and creation and this kind of stuff. The only superpower around here is us. So if you would take a look right now, what is Russia trying to show? What is Putin trying to show the world? I don't care what you qualify as a war crime. I don't care if I blow the entire Ukraine off the planet. And if you want to stand in my way, I'd be happy to blow you off too. And I would love to see the USSR back in power. What does communism stand for when it comes to communism and religion? Are they really a partner? Okay, what would you say they are? The antithesis of each other, right? What does communism look at religion as? the drug of the people. It's just what makes you stupid. That's the way they look at religion. Because who is the supreme power? Whoever is the supreme power. Okay, it's nothing that I can't touch and see. That's ridiculous. All right, it's nothing that I can't touch and see. That's the way they look at it. They look at it as man is the supreme power. And who is the supreme of all men? Whoever has the greatest physical might. That's exactly what Hitler said. It's no different. Nothing has changed. It's 100 years later and you're fighting the exact same battle. The only difference is we're a lot dumber. Okay, we've been like so inundated with so much garbage that we ourselves don't even know what we believe in. We're all like just standing there just going, don't take my TV away. Don't take my manicure appointment away. Don't take my nice clothes away. Just don't do that. And I'll give you anything. Just let me be. And meanwhile, this guy's saying, I don't care about what you have to say. I'm just here to collect what I want. I couldn't care less what you think. Do you see what I'm saying? This is all of Amalek's philosophy. Amalek's philosophy, that's what my husband qualified it. I thought I said it very well. The First World War was the war of supremacy over the world. And that was Amalek versus the Jewish people. Now listen carefully. Why did they choose, this is a very important part to this. Why did they choose to attack the Jewish people in Rephaim? Why did they choose, of all places, like you could have attacked them other times? Why B'dafka at that time? Because here the Jewish people had crossed the Yam Suf. Things look amazing.
No.
But day one goes by, nothing to
Yes,
drink.
yes.
Day two goes by, nothing to drink.
Oh,
Day
hi.
three goes by, nothing to drink
I'm good. How are
or
you?
eat really. So, Jewish mothers are good and they're going to pack ahead. There's no doubt about it. Okay. But when you're rushed out at midnight, there's only so many matzah crackers you could take with you, right? And so many things of water. So what's happening to the Jewish people?
This week.
What's happening when you're a Jewish mother and you don't have water, like that much water, and you're going, uh-oh, and Shloimi and Chani and Yankel are all going, I'm thirsty. What's going on here? What's going on? Let's be honest, okay? I could have seen a million miracles, but what really gets me is my here and my now, right? And that's typical of all of us. Janet, what? Can you hear me better or?
When can you come? You can come.
Oh gosh, you're gonna have to write it in the chat. Can you not even?
Can
What?
someone needs to just mute?
In
We
the chat.
tell.
Is the recording on? Is that what you asked? No, the recording is on. Okay, so I don't see.
Okay,
I'm like hanging up and starting again. Okay. Okay, Hashem, you know what I need. to say.
Sharon,
We
Sharon.
hear their conversation. Someone is talking.
Sharon.
Okay, so someone who is talking, you're going to be like, please mute, because if you don't mute, it will actually be recorded and sent to many people. So for your sake, okay, mute. Okay, and I think I muted you. Okay, is that good? No, they're still talking. Better? Okay, yes, okay. This is a kiss to all the people who are, I think I'm going to win the charades game. Okay. Help! Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So where were we? Okay. So why are they going there? Okay. So you see, like the Jewish people are kind of antsy. They're anxious, right? It isn't such a good place. So the Torah tells you that the Jewish people were weakened. What was being weakened? Their emunah. Okay. They're getting weak in emunah. When you don't have water, you don't have food, you get aggravated. Usually fight with the next person around you. So you start losing your connection, like you start losing your unity. People are yelling, I want water, and then other people are saying no, and then Moshe hits the rock. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
They're losing something very important. You know what that is? Their worldview. Now I'm going to ask you a question that's really important. When you look at the world, what holds it up? What's Pirkei Avos tell us? Torah, avoda, and milas hasadim. So Torah, the learning of Torah, which we're going to really understand what these words mean. Avoda is prayer, service to Hashem, right? And acts of kindness. When the Jewish people were in, for some reason I'm forgetting how to pronounce it, Refadim, when they were there, right? And they didn't have the water, and they're getting all antsy, they're getting all stressed. Then those three pillars of their worldview starts to shake. And Amalek is the child of Esav. Esav knows one thing. Yitzchak gave him a bracha. He said, you know what, Esav? When the Jews are on top, you will be on the bottom. But when the Jews start falling to the bottom, you will rise to the top. So we have to appreciate, what does that mean when the Jews are on the top? When the Jews are bankers and millionaires and billionaires like they are today? No, it's when they're on top of their game. Okay, what's the Jewish game? Torah, avoda, and acts of kindness. That's the Jewish game. When the Jews are on the top, then you can't touch us. But when we start falling, right, from our world mindset, and we're losing the battle of those three pillars, that's when Amalek, he knows the strategy. So it's not simple. It's not just that Haman, and I'm going to explain when we get to the story. It's not just that Haman, figured, I'm just going to go after the Jews. He knew when to go after the Jews. It's not just Stam. Okay, so Amalek has a very clear understanding of when it's good to go after the Jews. The issue is the Jews have to know. Because if the Jews know, then what can they do? They can start filling the pillar in again, building it back. So it's an important thing for us to understand. So here the Jews are weakening. They're weakening. The pillar is weakening. Now, who are the people who built these three pillars? Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Beautiful, Sandy. So Abraham is Chesed. Yitzchak is Torah. Yitzchak is Avoda, is service. He was willing to be sacrificed. Okay, he was completely there for Hashem. And Yaakov sat and learned Torah, right? Like we said, for 14 years before he even goes to Laban's house. So he represents the Torah. Okay, so also, yes, perfect. We're going to do this perfect. Exactly. So these are the people who really represent. Okay, so we get this concept that these people are the ones who represent this pillar. And these pillars are inherent in the Jewish people. All right, so now they're getting weak in these three pillars, right? And Amalek is coming after them. So now they've got to strengthen themselves with these three pillars. So Sandy, she did great lip, or maybe I did lip reading. I don't know, one of us did a good job here, or both of us did. Okay, so what she said is, the next generation, this generation of Jews had three pillars. Okay, these three incredible Jewish leaders represented those three incredible character traits. So let's see who they are and what, who represented what. So obviously Moshe, he brought down the Torah. Okay, so Moshe is Moshe Rabbeinu, right? The teacher of all Torah. So Moshe represents Torah, no doubt about it. Aaron is the one who served in the Beis Hamikdash, so he completely represents service. Miriam represents kindness. So let's think about the kindnesses. She has a lot of kindnesses that she did that actually saved the Jewish people. Okay, so first kindness was that she convinced her parents, like she said, you've got to be kind to the Jewish people. If you divorce right now, you will end the Jewish people, right? Because Paro only wanted to throw the males in. So she said, now that you got divorced, you're killing all the potential Jewish females as well. So you're killing everybody. So that was her kindness. Like, you've got to remember, be kind to these potential babies, be kind to the future of the Jewish people. Then when Moshe was put into the basket, she stood by the river. Then she had the guts in its guts, okay, as this Jewish little girl to go over to the princess and say to the princess, guess what? You know what I mean? I know the perfect nursemaid for your little baby that you took out of the river that you really shouldn't be doing. Okay, like I'm here to tell you. All right, so that takes a lot. And that was also chesed. The greatest chesed also, she was a midwife and she didn't kill the Jewish babies. Okay, so now here are the Jewish people. They're weak and they're anxious and they're nervous and they're not really good with these 3 mitzvahs. And now comes a mullet to say, ha, 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 now I'm going to show you who really is supreme. Because as the Jewish people fall, there's room for me to get in here and say to the world, there is no God. The only people you have to listen to is might makes right. The stronger we are, the more we can dictate to you what is moral and what is immoral. So when people say things to Putin like bombing a maternity hospital is horrible, he goes, no, it isn't. Why? Because I said so. That's all. It doesn't go deeper. There's no conversation with him. You get it? Like there is no conversation with a Molech. Because if there is no God, then there is no absolute morality. And if there is no absolute right or wrong, then there's no one who can say what is right and what is wrong. Do you understand? That's the fight. Okay? So now the Jewish people are weak, so we want to encourage them again. We want them to remember who their leaders are, who their ancestry are, who their DNA are, who they are. They are the people of Torah, Avoda, and Chesed. So Moshe is standing on this mountain. Amalek is fighting the Jewish people. Okay, how are we going to encourage the Jews? Moshe says to Yehoshua, you go out there. You're going to have to lead them in battle. We don't have a choice here. They're coming after us. We don't have anything else. We're going to do hishtadlus, just like God said to us. Yeah, cry. Good. You cried. I'm proud of you. You cried at the sea of reeds. Now jump. Okay. All right. So same thing here. You want to cry? Cry. But now go and fight and be inspired by looking up at Moshe, who represents Torah, looking up at Aaron, who was holding one hand, one arm, who represents Avoda, and Hur, who was the nephew of Miriam, right? Because it wouldn't have been so tznius for Miriam to be standing there waving at all these guys who are fighting in the army. So Hur represented Miriam, who was Chesed. And therefore the Torah said every time they looked up towards those 3 pillars, they won the war. And every time they turned away from that, they lost the war. Do you see? At the end, Baruch Hashem, they rallied and they stayed looking at those 3 pillars. What's the lesson for us? The lesson is for us today, because this is the war. So I'm going to tell you now, I really, I see it in my own self. I think we all have to be really honest. You say to yourself, what can I do for Ukraine? So yes, you could collect clothes and you could collect stuff. And I think it's a beautiful mitzvah and you should drop it off at the promenade. I'm so happy somebody sent me that little message. And in Mirz Hashem, I'm going to do it. And that's a chesed. But I'm going to be honest. That's an easy chesed. I like that chesed. It's easy. Right? So it's like a little beep in the pillar. But I think right now, we need to do the hard stuff. That's what I think. We need to take on things that aren't so easy. Cheseds that are not so comfortable. Right? Chesed always means a shalom, getting together. There's certain people that drive you crazy, that you don't really like. You don't have any patience for them, or you're angry at them. And we're going to have to extend a little. Do you know what I mean? I feel like we might have to throw bigger bombs, bombs of goodness. We're going to have to throw, more prayer, more avoda, more chesed, not the same amount, because obviously the same amount, it's not holding the world up. So that means we're going to have to put in more. So we're going to have to remember all this. And this is the stuff that you're going to see through the story of Purim, because that's what they had to do. Because when they lived in the story of Purim, what did they see? They could have seen the end of the world. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. If there is no Jew on the planet, there is no planet. That's what Hashem said. Not because we're his favorite, but because there would be nobody responsible to make sure that there is this relationship with Hashem and the rest of the world. And if there is no relationship with Hashem and the rest of the world, then there really is no purpose to the world. He didn't make it for Pinocchio, who gets to go play with the donkeys on the island. He didn't make it for that. So we need to really appreciate this. Okay, so let's go through some important threes because they're all going to line up, and that's why it's so beautiful. So we have the Torah, Avoda, and Chesed. Then we have, between all of us, and we guys know this, what's the three most important relationships? We know it. Between us and Hashem, right? Good, Sandy, us and Hashem, and Amita, and us and other people, and us and ourselves. So those relationships are all in the three pillars, okay? So when you talk about avoda, so that's service, obviously davening to Hashem, doing his mitzvahs, that's going to strengthen your relationship with Hashem, right? That makes a lot of sense. That's the avoda. Acts of kindness strengthens the relationship between you and the people around you. What's interesting, the mitzvah that strengthens you as a person, like we said, mitzvah, mitzvahs that we do between ourselves. What is the mitzvah that strengthens you the most with that? It's called Torah. Okay, interesting. Why? Because Torah gives us the greatest clarity of who we are and who we can be. You take out Torah, then you can define yourself according to your own monstrous mind. So let's say like Putin and Xi and all these people out there, they are defining themselves based on their lusts. I'm just being real. It's just animal lust for what? The Torah tells you power and jealousy and lust will take you out of the world. What does that mean? The Torah says it will make you insane. Do you see that today? I totally see that today. And I don't only see it on the Russian side. Unfortunately, I see it on the American side too, and on the Canadian side. The lust for power are making these leaders totally insane narcissists. I'm just being honest, who care about nothing but staying in power and getting what they want. That's all I see. I don't see anyone who really has a true heart, being honest. Okay, so we have to really appreciate this. The more, that's why the study of Torah is the most important mitzvah, really, right? That's what it says. All of the wonderful things you have, all the great mitzvahs you could do, but Torah is keneged kulam. Why? Because if you do not have a real understanding of self, you can't do a thing. If you don't know why you're here and you don't know what you're capable of and you don't know what the tools you have, right? Then how do you know how to take a step forward, right? Everybody here is a something. So let me just say in a secular way, okay? So let's say, I'm gonna just pick on Janet, okay? Janet, just because your face is on and I love you. Okay, so what's Janet? Janet is like this amazing manager at a lab, okay? So Janet has to know, don't you have to know, Janet, how to do your job? Could you just be this? Could I just throw any person into your job and expect them to be able to do it? Can I throw anybody, Sandy, into where you work and say, okay, now I want you to manage 20 people and make sure all the orders are done? The person be sitting there going, they wouldn't have a definition of who they are. So the Torah gives you this great definition of who you are that you can carry with you wherever you go. Whatever learning skill you have, that's great. But if you don't know you're a Jew connected to Hashem and the Torah and the Jewish people, and you have a mission on this planet, all the rest is a waste of your time. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to show you, like, this is what the Torah is trying to tell you. You want to have a mitzvah between you and you, then the greatest mitzvah is to learn Torah. And the more you intimately understand who you are, the greater you will become. Because the more you intimately understand who you are, the more you understand you're connected to Hashem. And so is everyone else. and that you're all beloved by Hashem, that there's a mission for all of us in this world, and that we all have a purpose and a connection. The Jew and the non-Jew, the animal and the insect, the rock and the sea and everything else. Do you see what I'm saying? Once you have that understanding, then you can't blow up a country just for the sake of your own gaiva, right? Just because before you pass on, you want to see the USSR built again, or for China, I want to take over the world supremacy problem. Do you see what's going on here? Okay, so it's really like such, to me, like incredible, beautiful stuff. So I just wanted to go on because there's more of these threes that I want to look at us. Okay, yeah, so the Zohar says one of the most important threes is a triangle. Okay, so here's a triangle, and that triangle consists of 3 parts. Anybody know? Sandy, do you know? Do you know this one? The triangle of the world, okay, the tripod of the world. Hashem, the Jewish people, and the Torah are one. If you pull one of these out, the other 2 really have no purpose. It's really cool. I really think it's cool. Like, think about it in your head, okay? Torah, Hashem, and the Jewish people. Pull any of them out, you're done. Even if you had the Jewish people and Hashem, you wouldn't know how to connect, right? If you had just the Torah and the Jewish people, they wouldn't know where to go. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you see? Pull out any piece and you see that it doesn't stand. So these are very important realities. So the Zohar tells you that this is the critical link, right? The Torah is the critical link between the Jewish people and Hashem. Hashem says, when he says Anochi, I wish I could say it it was like in Aramaic, I can't remember the word. I had to write it in English and it came out wrong. You know, like when you spell these words wrong. When you say the word Anochi, it means I wrote myself down and gave myself over. I don't know how to say it. I'm not even going to try. Okay, I wrote myself down and I gave myself over. What's going on? The Torah is the personal diary of Hashem. The more you understand Hashem, again, the more you understand yourself. The more you understand yourself from the Torah, the more you'll understand Hashem. Totally intertwined. Okay, so just important for us to understand. So he shares his personal diary with us. And without it, there is no connecting in any of these relationships. So before Hashem even creates the world, he creates the Torah. That's why when the Aleph base and the Torah are extremely linked, because the Aleph base is what the Torah is made out of. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's almost like that was the blueprint to the world and the concept of a collective Jewish soul that was going to lead the world. All right, so this is the reality we have. Okay, so what are some more incredible threes? Okay. Oh, so we said them. We said it before, the 3 patriarchs, right? Then we said the 3 great leaders. We said them also, which was Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. And then we said it was in their merit that we got 3 things. We got 3 things. We didn't talk about this. We got 3 things in their merit. One was the man for Moshe, the clouds because of Aaron, and the water because of Miriam. So when you look at these things, that the man, right? Unless you appreciate that you get your living and your sustenance from Hashem, it's very, very hard to be able to learn Torah. Because you kind of feel like, how can I learn Torah? Like here it tells, here the Torah tells a man, you need to be learning it yama v'layla, you have to learn it day and night. And the person's like, day and night, help. When can I make a living? So Hashem says, you could do hishtadlus to make a living. You don't have to do too much because I'm the one in charge of sustenance. That was the story of the man. You will always have what you need and you will need what you have. And every day that you get what you need and you need what you have, it's not because, what's it called? Gasoline prices are low or because there's peace on earth. There's only one reason, because Hashem gave it to you. Okay, beautiful. All right, so that was the study of Torah. Then the clouds. Okay, then we have a good relationship with Hashem. Then we have Hashem rests with us. And water is like the chesed, it's the sustainer of life, which was what we got because of Miriam. Okay, now Okay, beautiful. So let me go on to the next page. All right. Let me see. Okay, we did that one. Okay, so let's get to the World War II. What's the World War II in our story? So World War I is the first time Amalek comes after us in Rephidim, and now we're going to go to the story of Purim. So let's take a look at Haman and how he's calculating to take the Jews down. So what did we say? Amalek knows, Esav knows when the Jews are on the bottom or they're going down to the bottom, that's when they, right? Then Amalek can rise to the top. So where were we going down to the bottom? So it starts with the Jewish people taking into Babel. Nebuchadnezzar makes them bow down to idols. A lot of the Jews fall for it. They bow down to idols. Now, okay, he's not so picky. Nebuchadnezzar's gone. But now we have Haman on the scene. So Haman was very smart. He wore an idol around his neck. All right. So most of the Jewish people are doing what? They're bowing down to Haman. They're bowing down to the idol. Like, they're like, it's not really, we're bowing down to the idol. It's really a necklace that he's wearing, like, so, they're trying to come out with, it's not really so bad. And we wrapped it up with 10 pieces of foil. It's still kind of kosher. It's only fish. It's only vegetables. What's wrong in this kind of restaurant? It's not the worst thing in the world. You know what I'm saying? It was that kind of thing. Okay. So he sees them do that, right? That was losing the avoda. You're not serving Hashem anymore. You're serving the minister. You're serving the powers that be. You're afraid of the government. Like, this is hard stuff. These are not easy tests. It's very easy for me, to sit here and go, the Jews did this and the Jews did that. Would I be any better? I have to daven to Hashem, I would. But do I know if I would? When push comes to shove, we have to really think about this, to really, really strengthen ourselves. Okay. What was the second big problem? The party, right? Everybody's running to the party, right? No, we have to go. It's going to look so bad. And you know what? He promised us kosher food. And they got to the party. Wasn't too kosher. Food might have been kosher, but the entertainment wasn't. Okay, so we could see ourselves like today, we fall into that a lot. We got to be very careful, right? A lot of these things are like, I call it kosher style, not so kosher style. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be real. It's really scary, right? So Mordechai says to them, excuse me, I am the rabbi. And he was. It was from one of the members of Sanhedrin. He was a genius. He was an incredible man. You saw what a courageous person he was. He said to them, you really can't go. The rabbi says you can't go. And they said, let me call another rabbi. And they went. So then that means they weren't very good with Torah. And then the last thing that really pushes it over the top, and that's why we got to be really super careful with this, is that Haman, when he was describing the Jewish people, he said, oh, they're all scattered. They're very apart. They're strange. What did he mean? They were fighting. The Jewish people were not a united nation. Okay, they were very estranged from each other. That's what I say to myself every day. I say, thank you, Hashem, because that I don't see. The Jewish people, when it's push comes to shove, everybody will be there to give money to the Jews in Ukraine, and everybody will work very hard, every organization, to pull them out. So thank you, Hashem. Thank you. We've got to stay focused that way, right? So on the big global picture, but then you got to do it right under your roof, which I think is the harder one. Okay, right under your roof. The people who you're having issues with, your husband, your kids, your this, your that. This is a hard time, a hard time. We're gonna have to be better. We're gonna have to kind of take our egos down, because you have the smarts, the other person may not. We can't expect from someone who knows no Torah and doesn't really learn to be able to come up with these answers. Do you know what I mean? So it's hard, it's very hard, but it's something we need to think about, right? When it comes to building this world back. Okay. So he's hopping. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get these guys because this is a perfect time, right? He could destroy the Jews because he sees they're weak in all those three areas, right? So what happens? Mordechai and Esther are no dummies. They take a look and they go, Forget about trying to fight, okay? There's no way we're gonna win. There's X amount of Jews spread around 127 provinces. Everybody is going to be armed and ready to destroy us, because guess what? They're gonna love to take all our property. You ask anybody who survived the Holocaust who even dared try to go back to their house. If they weren't murdered on the spot, they were really lucky. Do you know that? You think anybody went, oh, wow, Shlomi Goldsmith, I'm so happy to see you. We've been holding your home for you. They slammed the door in their face and said, get out of here before we kill you. But this is our house now. Okay, so let's everybody like stay on top of the game. So you can imagine, like the Jews knew, we're going to pick up arms. That's not the Hishtadlus Hashem wants from us, because that's not even within the realm of possibility. The only Hishtadlus Hashem wants from us is we had better build back those pillars. And that's what the story of Purim does. And that's what the mitzvahs of Purim do. And that's what we have to understand. So the Megillah, the Torah tells you, and this is really important, the Megillah tells you that it's avoda. When you're listening to that Megillah, you are praising and praying to Hashem. Why? Because the story of the Megillah is kind of interesting. I don't see Hashem's name in it anywhere. I don't see anybody going, Hashem is the best and he is the greatest. No. What do you see? The story of the Megillah is teaching you something very important. Everything is in the hands of Hashem. Not like Amalek said, there is no coincidence. Everything is directed. Everything that is happening right now that could not be more bizarre. Really, the idea that Russia is negotiating with Iran on behalf of America. Do you understand that? Do you get this? Anybody get this out there? The Iranian to give now back, and look at the chutzpah that these guys are so clever. Like they really pushed the button, right? So Iran just sent a missile into Iraq, very big missile, I think 12, no? Was it 12 missiles? Into Iraq and almost hit the American embassy, right? Or an American stationed thing in Iraq. Why is Iran doing that? North Korea has been shooting a gazillion missiles. Everybody's going, woohoo, free time, because Biden is completely incompetent. Can't even pronounce the sentence. Who put Biden in power? Who did all this? This is all Hashem. It's not possible. This is not a coincidence. These are not normal. Do you understand? Completely not normal. All off the back of COVID. So it's not normal. Okay, it's not. Okay, so if things are shaking like this, then we got to get back into pillar land. Okay, so the Jews were smart. They're going to waste their time on talking politics and blah, blah, blah. They go right to the job. We're going to fast and we're going to pray our kishkas out. That's what they did. And we're going to gather all the Jews together. We're all going to say sorry. We're going to love each other and we're going to work together to make sure that we're saved, that Hashem knows who we are. And we are going to re-accept the Torah. And we're going to tell Hashem, you know what, we're not just going to take the Torah this time because we were so afraid you're going to throw a mountain on our head. Like, let's be real. When you stood at Har Sinai and God spoke to you, are you going to tell me, anybody in this Zoom, you would have had the chutzpah to say, well, I don't think so. It's lightning, the world is shaking, God is speaking to you, and you're gonna go, I got better things to do with my time. Like, hello. Okay, so now, when they're really being threatened, they realize, you know what? All this assimilation stuff is garbage, because in the end, nobody's got our back. And nobody cares about us. And the only reality that does is our Father in heaven. So you know what? We love you. We're not saying sorry because we're afraid. We're saying sorry because we love you and we acted stupid. You know, when you were a teenager, you listened to your parents and you did something dumb. You know, then you go back to your parents and you realize, you know what? Yeah, they were right. They didn't want you to hang around with so-and-so because it cost you a lot. Right? And really, they love you. And they really are the ones who want to protect you and have your back. So that's what happened here. So these, I think, are such incredible and beautiful ideas. So on Purim, on Pesach, what do we eat? We eat matzah, right? We eat matzah. Okay, so wait, I just want to make sure, before I go there really quick, I just want to make sure we covered the 3 pillars. Okay, so the Megillah is avoda, right? It's prayer, because what's the greatest prayer? The greatest praise you could give Hashem is when you read the Megillah and you say your hand was in this the whole time, and that nothing is random. Everything that's in this world is you. And that's what Hallel is like. They say you don't say Hallel on Purim, you say it on Hanukkah, because the Megillah is Hallel. The Megillah is the way you could see that Hashem can turn the world upside down and then turn it right back up. But the only one who can do it is Hashem. Okay, but I want you to know he does it according to the way we act and according to the way we speak and according to the way we talk to him. We really play a big role in it, and we have to really appreciate that and understand that, because that's not a small responsibility. Okay, so shlachmanis and giving to the poor, that is complete unity. And shlachmanis, you should know, it's not to give to your best friend. It's really to give to someone that you like things haven't been that great with. Right? Or your neighbor who's really estranged from Judaism and doesn't know anything, and just to make them feel good, right? And to make them feel like, yeah, wow, there's this beautiful Jewish holiday and I want to share it with you. All right? Okay, and what was the Torah? The Torah is we read, there's a part of Torah we read in the morning on Purim, okay? That's also about Amalek, Purim day. And also the Torah is, we want to show people what a real party is. You know, we make a Suda on Purim. We celebrate on Purim. We celebrate with Torah. At that Suda, even when people get drunk, we want them to be drunk in Simcha with Torah. Like I will tell you that when, like I see, Baruch Hashem, a lot of times in my own family, when people get drunk, the best Torah comes out of them. I'm being real. They tell the most beautiful Dvar Torahs and they're hugging and kissing. It's the only time I ever get, you're the best mother in the world. I wait a whole year for that. Okay, you don't get that from your 28-year-old. Good luck, ladies. Okay, so it's worth it. Okay, so this we have to understand. So just like we have Pesach, we have something that we eat, that we call it the bread of Amunah. What is it? The matzah. So you have a bread of Amunah that you eat on Purim. It's called the Hamantash. So the Hamantash is that triangle. Hashem and the Jewish people are one. And that's what you're eating. It's made out of 3 pieces: Torah, Avoda, and Chesed. That's what you're supposed to be thinking when you look at your Hamantash or you eat your Hamantash, right? And in the middle, it has seeds. Why did it have seeds? You know, this is really interesting. It goes all the way back. When Nebuchadnezzar exiled the Jewish people, he took first like the noblemen and all these like, you know, very smart, young, like sort of university / yeshiva students, right? And prophets, one of which was Daniel and his 3 companions. So it's very interesting. He took them chutz la'aretz. And what did he want to do? He was smart. He wanted to educate them in Babylonian philosophy and all this. And then he was going to send them back to Israel to be the, you know, these like cool leaders that everybody was going to follow. So Daniel understood. I feel so bad about the phone. You have to really, I apologize. I just know how to shut off the ringer. I got to figure this out. One day you guys someone has to teach me how to make it on mute. Okay, so anyway, so what happens? So Daniel is very smart because he sees like assimilation is a really big pull. He's going to be in this palace and there's going to be like lots of nice food. They actually had a person who was mamish in charge of them, like to guide them and to make sure that they stayed healthy and strong. So he turns to him and he goes, you know what? I don't want to eat this food anymore. I don't want any of this non-kosher food. I only want kosher food. So he only give him seeds and vegetables. He said, you know what? I'll give you all the non-kosher stuff. You know, he's going to give it to his trainer or whatever you want to call him. And then the trainer said, okay, great. But only I'm going to give a test after 10 days, because if you turn out skinny, I'm going to get my head chopped off. So it's not worth it. Hashem made a miracle and they were extremely healthy and strong and everything just from eating seeds. But Daniel set that in the future for the Jewish people. This is where the Chachamim, they came up with this idea. Jews shouldn't hang out with non-Jews. and eat their food. It's not a good idea. It's not, because food is a very connecting reality. That's why that's why with every Jewish holiday, there's food. Okay, there's like something deep and something, connected to it. So the man represents how Daniel ate the seeds. He would not assimilate, and he kept kosher under all circumstances. Esther did the same. When she was in the palace, she only ate seeds. So that's the idea of the Haman Tash. Haman is it's not really so much about Haman. Like, in fact, they say they have a very hard time tracing it back to Haman and his ears or his hat. Haman Tash is man, Haman, the man, which means poppy seeds. Tash means a pocket. Okay. Another part of it, everything was hidden in the pocket. Once upon a time, you didn't make a Haman Tash with a hole in it. Okay. Because they were all made out of poppy seeds. So everybody knew what was inside. Today, you've got multiple flavors. You want to know what's inside. Okay? So you have this little thing that holds. But it's just very beautiful for us to look at it. So when we're going to look at this Haman Tash and we're going to eat it, we really should try to say, you know what, Hashem, we see the world rocking. It's not a joke. We see it before our eyes and we hear it in a way that we've never been able to in the history of mankind. Never could you have, like people literally talking on Twitter, on Facebook, on live. You're watching bombs live. This isn't like, some old film out there. This is the real deal in front of your face. I don't like talking about it. I don't like thinking about it. You don't think I want to bury my head in the sand? Call me for the first one to bury my head in the sand. But we can't. We just can't. So we're gonna eat that Haman Tash, and we're gonna do what we said we were always gonna do, but we're gonna try not to forget to wake up every morning and to say, I'm gonna do my Torah, I'm gonna do my prayer, I'm gonna do my acts of kindness, and I'm gonna have to bump it up. Even if it hurts, and even if it's inconvenient, and even if my ego gets swiped, I have to do it. Because I need to eradicate Amalek, and that's my mitzvah. And right now, the world is calling us to eradicate Amalek. It's the truth. Okay, everybody? So today we have to say Tehillim. How are we going to say Tehillim? Help! Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.